Hey, what is up everybody, Blades4 here. Today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video guys, we're going to be going ahead and doing a Wonder build guide here, mainly just talking about how to actually utilize Wonder in the right direction. Now this isn't going to be like my other build guides where I kind of split them up and have some fancy little transitions in between. Now this is just going to be something normal where I can easily tell you guys, because building this man isn't as hard as you may think. Though a lot of you guys who are newer here may not know exactly how he works. So I'll go ahead and highlight exactly how this works. Skill tree, and we'll briefly touch on at the end of the video every last one of his daggers and tell you exactly what he does. So if you guys are interested in this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really does help me a lot in the long run. But let's get straight into it. So Wonder himself, our main protagonist of P5X here, he has a lot of uses, okay? Currently as well, when it comes down to at least the main protagonist, he also has the least amount of personas that he very well can use here, being 3. Now this guy isn't bad whatsoever. He only has a couple directions that you're really going to build him, though you can make him a DPS in some sort of directions here, but you're mainly going to be using them more of a buffer, like a support type person, or a debuffer in most aspects of at least the game here. So one of the first things that you guys got to know, he excels morally as a support character, right? He's not really meant to be a DPS character. I know a lot of you guys saw that Yoshitsune video, don't get it twisted. That's not always how Wonder does work. He can't usually perform that without having a lot of supporters on his side. The man usually is just in that slot as a support character or an extra debuffer, so you definitely are going to use him for that type of deals. So breaking things down first is, how would you want to build this man? Where is his actual usability? As for the support and debuffer man himself, you do need to focus on a couple things, and that's going to be the talent tree. Now the talent tree, you're going to want a couple things to focus on first here. And that's mainly going to be prioritizing as much things as possible, seeing that the only way to get these up is by getting these inspiration little light bulbs and getting personas inside of your persona book here, or your compendium, in order to get these said currencies. Now by doing certain amount, of course, of stuff here and actually building up things from the Velvet Trials and stuff like that, you also get a couple of these currencies as well that'll end up helping you actually get these big guys down here, which are really going to be important. So let's start with the most important type little skill tree things that you want to really pay attention to. That's going to be these bottom 3. These bottom 3 are actually going to dictate a lot of what you can really do when it comes down to increasing Wonder's whole skill levels and somewhat increasing highlight effects as well. So for the first things that you want to go ahead and focus on, that's going to be the 2 and 3 skills. The main reasoning that I say these 2 are going to be your most important ones is because, as you can see, this one helps out with your persona skills and increasing them certain levels, while the other one here also helps out with the innate persona skills, increasing their levels. So both of these are persona skill type levels that will really get increased as long as Wonder is built up. Now, if we're keeping this in mind, Wonder does have those 3 persona slots. In order to really make use of these guys and make use of the personas that you have at hand, you will want to have these up. So any of these light bulbs that you end up getting here, where it's from like anything with Velvet Trials, hitting certain levels, you will get these quite often by doing those things here. You need to try and invest them into these 2 first. Then of course your last one will be one of those ones that you get later on here, because this one's a little bit less needed, right? It mainly increases your 1 more damage, your highlight and melee, as well as gun damage. Now, if you're keeping in mind, this character is meant to be a support character. So obviously this is going to be the last thing that you really want to try to invest in, especially when it does come down to Wonder himself. So really, until you have these guys maxed out here, then you want to go ahead and go for at least this one. Now, at the end of the day, it is what you decide to do on your Wonder. If you do want him to do 1 more damage and things like that, then by all means upgrade this, but you can't say that I didn't tell you to go ahead and go for these 2 first. They definitely do help you out quite a lot. But then going on the prioritizing list, at least what you should be going for next here, is going to be more of your basic stats and your percentage stats here. What I mean by that is your HP, attack, and defense, and then your attack, HP, and defense percentages. These are going to be really important because you really do need this, especially when you want your skills to actually scale correctly. With Wonder himself, he does share a lot of his skill scaling, especially when it comes down to, at least, let's say I want to use some moves on Dionysus, or at least use some moves that are with certain personas that need a base of certain attack or defense. Well, all of this is going to come into play depending on how you build your wonder. If you don't have at least a persona, let's say a persona that is based on attack, and you don't have your attack percentage or your flat attack up, well, obviously their skill is going to buff the opponent, or at least, sorry, not the opponent, the ally a lot less, or either buff wonder a lot less, right? Same goes with the other ones where it comes down to HP and defense. If you don't have that up, they're not going to be giving you the correct amount of scaling when it does come down to those correlated skills. So you really want to make sure you have all of these perfectly good. So what I would say is like, okay, let's say you just reset, which you can reset your skills right here. And this is very useful, especially if you didn't make a mistake. Luckily, this only costs some soul stones, so it's not really going to hurt you. As you can see, it only takes 10k from you. But let's say you reset. What I would say is get all of these unlocked at least once, except for these two, right? These two you don't really need here, or at least I can't remember. I mean, maybe it was these. No, yeah, it was these two here to the right. You don't really need these two, especially for wonder, because you're not really going to be utilizing them too often, but you really won't also make a little bit of a mistake with that. The same can technically be said with these two as well, because you won't really be healing with wonder. But at the end of the day, let's say you want to go ahead and unlock everything at least once. You go ahead and go through, everything's now unlocked at least once. Afterwards, I would highly suggest you guys to try and focus on these flat stats and also these percentage stats. When it does come down to which ones is more important, that's where it gets a little confusing there, because some things you do want more flats. The flats can be very helpful, seeing that it's just an overall damage boost, or either just HP or defense boost, while percentages are of course percentage based. So I mean, like, either way, you can go ahead and decide which way you want to go about it. If anything, if you can, try to split them in between as you're slowly upgrading everything, and that could help you out in the long run. Just make sure when it comes down to upgrading these skills, this whole L shape is what you want to go ahead and go and do first. Now then, the next thing that you guys want, what you want to go ahead and actually pertain to doing, is going to come down to at least your crit rates and crit damage, as well as these two here, but really just mainly your crit rate and crit damage. Now the main reasoning for this here is because Wonder himself, every now and again, he will need to throw some hands and he will need to go ahead and do some damage. So it's always nice to have this. But alongside of this, we have to remember Wonder does share his stats through his personas and through certain personas themselves that actually give off some crit rate or crit damage buffs. With this in mind here, the same thing applies with the flat stats of HP and attack, or the percent stats of HP, attack, defense, stuff like that. Same thing applies with crit rate and crit damage. The more you have this up, of course, the higher the scaling of the crit rate and crit damage of those personas will be. It's going to help your whole team, especially when you're sharing those stats around. So you really want to make sure that you have these two things next up. After them, of course, you very well can update any of these four here. It's kind of up to you. If it was honestly up to me, right, I would increase the healing effect here properties. And that's just because every now and again, you do need to heal. Although his healing is not good, it's still something, right? You will be able to heal here. And if you're playing with Dionysus, like I am here, you might have a healing move on him as well, just to keep your team a little bit afloat, which does happen where you do need to use that. So I mean, having healing effect can be helpful, and an effect hit rate will come in handy a lot for you guys who are playing with Haru and stuff like that. So having these two skills upgraded first, besides these other skills here, actually wouldn't be a bad idea for some of you guys. But that's mainly just going to be because these last four skills aren't really too useful, but they can be helpful in certain situations. So in all honesty, pick what you want out of these guys. Just try to focus on at least getting two of them up to max, and then the other two you can get down the line. Just like me here, there's not enough inspiration points that are out yet. So of course you will have these two or any two over here not fully unlocked once you get to my level as well and have a lot more things unlocked. So really do keep that in mind. Now, for some of you guys who are asking the question, what is this down here? This is super ego level. So after you hit level 80, which a lot of you guys should be able to hit very soon, you'll end up having this. You don't really have to make any strategic thought process on this. Every level you get that's S level or super ego level, you get one of these guys, in which all you need to do is just go ahead and just place it in this. So since I'm plus 55 extra levels here, I have 55 extra things in this as well that helps me get more flat HP, attack, and defense. That's all you really got to know about it when it does come down to building that side of him. Now, with Wonder himself, now that we went over everything, at least regarding what's it called, regarding his actual talent tree here, there's a few things that we got to go over for his weaponry. I know a lot of you guys don't know exactly what his weapons do, so allow me to help you guys out on that before we close out the video. So being a little bit brief here, the first weapon that you end up getting is morally meant to be a DPS dagger, right? You get this from the first palace, and it's mainly for the early game fights / fights where you need just pure damage potential. I use this with Yoshitsune, but there is a better weapon that you can use for that type of damage stuff. So this is mainly going to be for you guys who are like early game and need a DPS wonder, which you shouldn't need too often. Then of course we have the second weapon here. This second weapon is immediately from Palace 2 here, and this is going to help you out more defensive boost capabilities or increasing wonder shielding. If you're able to actually go ahead and do so, it does help out on the HP or at least the healing bonus as well for wonder, which is kind of okay with this, but you only will need this if you're struggling to really, like, I guess, live for the majority of the time. If you're using any like defensive based type team, so Yusuke, stuff like that, or most ice damagers or ice defenders, you're probably going to need this weapon, though I wouldn't rely on it too much because really survivability is very high in this game, but it's going to take a very long time for you guys to get through a lot of content, and sometimes you might run out a lot of turns. So I mean, like, you can use it a little bit. It's going to be early game that you kind of use this, but not too often later on unless you're just still using the defensive team. Now the third dagger here, which I always call the mechanic dagger here, this dagger is actually from the third palace. You will get this one from the third palace, in which I'm going to try and get on my alt account as well. This is going to help you out with elemental damage bonus. So anytime you're using someone with like elemental damage and you want to make sure that wonder is starting with a good persona that needs this certain damage boost, so let's say I need to use a electric persona, right? Or I need to use an electric team, and I wanted my electric team to be pretty much mainly boosted up based on the persona that wonder has. Well, I have an electric persona in the first slot that already is giving me that electric boost, but this weapon then amplifies that and grants an attack buff to the whole team. So at this point in time, you actually have a really good setup here, and does come out to be some of the best options when it does come down to the daggers that you have at the beginning. So this dagger is still used to this day, and it actually is very good for certain teams. So I would suggest a lot of you guys to go ahead and get invested into this one and try to complete Palace 3 to get this out. Now we're going to get close to the actual daggers that you mainly get from exchanging out in the shops here. The next dagger we're going to go ahead and take a look at is going to be this one here, called the Ancient Dagger. Now this one you have to exchange out of the dagger shop immediately here. This one's going to help you out with decreasing enemies defense with based on the elemental elements on the enemy at hand. So this is going to be more for your elemental elements type team. So any team that has like Bino in it, that you're using like Vishnu, some of those like heavily applied element type personas and stuff like that, this is going to be your dagger that you want to have here, mainly because it's really helpful for a lot of those fights here. It's going to be more of a dagger that you use for some single target DPSs, being that it's going to be based on the elemental elements, and not too many characters are able to place multiple of those elements on multiple targets currently. So I mean, like, it's going to be your one that you want to go for at least a single target route here with some single target DPSs, but you can use it on some AoE DPSs as well to really get the most out of it and actually get as much damage as possible. Just make sure you have elements on them, because that will be the only way you can make good use of this weapon. Now when we go ahead and look at the next weapon here, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Astral Dagger. Now Astral Dagger is a little bit later on where we just got this weapon. I think it came out when Haru came out for the most part. This one's going to reduce pretty much enemies defense and also increase your EHR and side damage for everything. Now this is a permanent effect. Now this is what that happens, but it also has other things to boot as well. It actually helps you out with at least a couple stacks as well, where you start with 10 and consuming 5 every single turn. But based on the amount of stacks that you end up consuming, so let's say you can consume those 5, it will grant you a defense reduction, and then of course let's say it takes 10 will grant you EHR, and 15 will grant you side damage boost. So as you're consuming more and more of these buffs here, you're actually getting better stacks and better stats as well. That's going to really help you out. Though the only thing that you can use this weapon with is going to be AoE DPS teams here. Besides the Blessed team, you're really going to be using this with, of course, a lot of AoE teams here. But if they are single target or if they are the blessed team specifically, you're not going to be able to use these too often. This dagger is really powerful, especially when it can take down defense decreases, or at least defense, while building up damage and EHR boost here. It's going to be really powerful. So you do have to keep in mind, at the end of the day, it has to be an AoE based fight. If it's not AoE, you're not going to get the best out of this whole fight or out of this dagger, to say the least. So surely do keep that in mind. Now the next dagger, including being one of my favorites here, personally, not only on design, but God, the team that I enjoy at least using this quite a lot, right? You're not gonna find it too often where you do decide to use this here, seeing that this dagger is really just straddled to the physical based teams here. What this does is decrease the enemy's effect resistance when landing a debuff, and it will also increase your physical damage done to the enemy itself. So pretty much it's just gonna be a huge carry when you're using any one physical damage related. So if you are doing any type of physical damage related things, Skull, Mesa, those characters, well then this will be very much so useful. But other than that, you can't really use this weapon with any other team, so you are going to be bound to a physical based team if you do get this weapon, so keep that in mind. Now that we went over those two, let's go ahead and go over another weapon here, which is actually one that's a little bit newer here. This is the Beast Dagger from Palace 4 as well, or I guess Palace 3 you could say, because it's complicated, so I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to spoil anything with that. But this is also from Palace 3 itself as well. This dagger itself is helping you out on crit rate and crit damage, as well as overall damage. So if you really want to do DPS with Wonder and really want people to deal some crazy type numbers here, making Wonder a DPS itself, then you would want to go with this weapon. Now, I did use the red weapon for at least a DPS video itself. We're going to end up doing another one fairly soon with a different persona that's going to be utilizing this weapon. So surely do look out for that here. But this is going to be your actual main DPS weapon, and it's going to be used for Wonder himself, mainly just to get as much damage as possible. So surely do keep that in mind. But now we went over the Beast Dagger. Let's take a look at the other dagger here, being the Inferno Dagger. Now this dagger itself is one that's a little bit newer, so I don't know all the effects of it here, but lucky for me, I got a little thing helping me out real here. So with this here, you're not only increasing your attack as shown at the bottom here immediately, but this weapon itself can stack Purifying Flame at the start of the battle, dealing fire damage, in which gaining 1 stack, and Wonder, well, in which deals fire damage, let's put it that way. Then once you of course gain a stack on this weapon, which it does stack here, Wonder can then consume this said stack at the start of his turn. Having 1 stack actually gives your whole team an attack buff, having 2 stacks gives your whole team a damage buff, and having 3 stacks gives your whole team a fire damage buff. So with this in mind here, you're going to be using this mainly with a fire based team here, but there are more things that come into play. In fact, this weapon's even more powerful than the Astro Dagger, so for a lot of you guys who actually want to get this really optimized for a fire related team, don't worry, this is going to be the weapon for you and you can exchange it out here. But if you have 2 or more fire characters, you will immediately keep up your stacks. So the more characters you got that are fire, of course, the better your stacks are going to be and the easier it will be to get those high damage numbers here. So this is going to be your weapon whenever you're using a fire related team out there. So definitely if you're more of a fire person and you really want to use your fire related team here, get this dagger. It's going to help you out a lot. Now the next dagger, which is one of the newest, if not the newest dagger that came out recently, is called the Plasma Dagger. This one is pretty decent here, but unfortunately it is outclassed by the Astro Dagger, aka this pink one down here. Only problem with this one is it's mainly also useful with 1 person. It's not really used with anyone else here, and that is going to be Crow. I mean, if you're a Crow person, this is a weapon for you, but once again, it is outclassed by this pink one, so surely do keep that in mind. It does buff a couple things as well, helping out with at least resonance effects here, which is really helpful. But I mean, when you're only bound to 1 team and 1 character, I don't think this dagger is going to be meant for you, so you definitely want to go ahead and use the Astro Dagger over it. And then lastly, which is another dagger that is my favorite here, this is the Blessed Dagger. This is mainly going to be used for blessed teams here, and which gives you a damage bonus and blessed damage boost as long as whoever's being targeted with a Wonder support skill. So whenever Wonder is being a support on this team here, he's able to give mainly his teammates that damage boost, the blessed damage boost, and more type deals when it comes down to being a really helpful support. So this forces Wonder to be more in the support range here, which is what I normally use him as, and it's not really that bad. Especially for blessed teams, you're going to utilize this quite a lot, so surely do keep that in mind. This is probably going to be the best weapon that you can use for blessed teams, especially with a blessed DPS, until they add a better weapon itself here. And it does have that nice damage boost that is higher than the Palace 3 dagger as well. So of course, if you guys do have the Palace 3 dagger being this one right here, this one will probably be way better than what you have then, helping you out and actually letting you get through a lot more content if you're using the blessed related team. But all right, now that we went over both his, of course, skill sets, or at least his skill tree and his weapons, we're gonna go ahead and close it out for the day. Hopefully you guys found this very informative and actually helpful. Do slap that like button with your forehead and consider subscribing if you are new. I do daily videos of P5X and we're only going to continue doing more. Look forward to another short very soon as well. Peace out, you guys.